Okay, we're live.
Cool.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our deep dive stream on delegation and other entrepreneurial challenges. If this is your first time joining us, these streams are all about helping entrepreneurs tackle their business challenges. As always, we have our guest, we have our host, networking and marketing expert Victor Nichols, leading the show. Today, we're thrilled to welcome two inspiring guests, Mizar Turdiu and the founder of Pure 2.0, and Joanne Parnofiello, a career coach and a writer. Ladies, thank you a lot for joining us today on a Saturday morning. Could you please tell us a bit about yourselves and your businesses? Who would like to go first?
Mizar?
Mizar, that's okay. You're not
Mizar,
the first to
thank you.
butcher it, and you won't be the last, I promise you.
Honey, that's the first lesson.
That's okay. Well, you know what? Think Italian, Joanne. Mizar.
Mizar. Okay.
Yes. I'm an all-American girl with a wacky name, and we can get to that later. Okay, I'll make a brief introduction. My initial career choice was broadcast journalism, and I did do reporting and anchoring. My last job was here locally in the New York area. Then I got a little tired because I was a morning anchor, so while it was fun, it was time to move on. My children were tweens. I needed to be home with them on their schedule. And I met a gentleman in Chicago from Toronto, originally from Italy. And he was doing this company. He was working in water filtration and purification. Now, we all take our water for granted. We really do. We turn on the tap and we think, no problem. My background being journalism really brought me to the point where research was most important for me. And I said, okay, I'll do this with you. His name is Antonio. I'll open the doors. You close the deals because we are a sales and service company. But I needed to substantiate really and validate what I was doing. And because I've always had a very strong sense of being part of this environment and keeping it clean, I started to look into water. And it is, here's how I put it. Knowledge is power, but the knowledge about the water and how it's compromised on this earth everywhere will scare the snot out of you. So it just will. We partner with affiliated partners who are in the health and wellness industry, nutritionists, dietitians, health coaches, integrative functional medicine people, because they really, 10 years ago, when we really started the partnership, they understood the value of not just safe water, because the town will deliver what is technically safe water, but safe and healthy water. So Antonio put together a system, which we can talk a little bit more about in the future. I don't want to take up too much time, but he created a system that cleans, purifies, and then remineralizes the water. And working with these affiliated partners, we were able to really grow exponentially to the point where, there are days where I just tear my hair out because I got so many plates in the air. And so at any rate, we worked very hard, and we've done really well because now people are becoming a little bit more aware of their environment and the impact of what we, painting with a broad brush, have done to our environment.
Yeah. So true.
Nice. Wow. Well, that sounds
Joanne?
impressive. Yeah. Okay. And you can hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So my company is extremely different, much smaller, and my phones are not ringing off the hook. They're ringing occasionally, which is okay with me right now. I'm in the baby stages, and so that's fine. But my business was opened twofold. One, as a result of the economic downturn in 2009. And I had been in the HR space for many years. And prior to that, I was a nurse. And so I've always been in healthcare all my life. And that's just my mission. I love it. But there's many things you can do in healthcare. Okay. You don't have to be a clinician to be great in healthcare. And so I worked in HR. And so when I saw people were getting laid off by the many, I went to a friend of mine and said, "Listen, can I use your space and maybe hold some workshops and see does anybody in this?" It was my church actually, and is anybody in the parish out of work? And he said, "Yeah, we've got tons of people." And that became my first workshop. So from 2009 on, I started to do this, but I didn't want it to conflict with my day job. And that's something to think about when you're opening a business. Are you competing with what you're doing during the day? And watch out about conflicts of interest and things. And I didn't want the optics of that, especially that I was in HR. So I'm, always under scrutiny, right? You don't want to do what you don't want other people to do. So it was pro bono. I did it for free. And as I told Deanna, I was practicing on people and honing my skills, not in the content, but in the entrepreneurial space. It's very different to work for a company, do your job as best you can, get paid at the end of the week. It's very different when you're the solo person, as we call solopreneur, and you have to deliver a product somebody's paying for. And they can very easily not like it and not come back. So it's a different focus. It's a different perspective, although some of the same work. So life went on, and I had a tremendous life change in 2022. And so I said, well, I left my job of many years and said, I'm going to breathe life into my company, M-Trip. It's got a funky name. It's an odd name, M-Trip. I'll tell you why. However, I said, I'm going to start charging. So I got a mentor and I started to learn. And that's why I love doing things like this. It exposes me. I'm still learning. We're all learning. You never learn, and then launch and you're great. It's learning every single day. And Mizar, I know you agree with me on that. And what works for you in 22 versus 23 versus 24 is different, because you have to flow with the ebb and flow of the landscape around you, right? So I started to charge money. I started to hone my skills. And as I told Deanna, the hardest part of being an entrepreneur for me was charging people, because what I did, I never charged. I got a paycheck.
I know, but when you become your own boss, if you don't charge, you're going to go hungry.
Yeah, you got to keep the lights on, right?
Yeah,
So that's it. And the only little thing about the M-Trip brand, nobody says it right. They're like, how do you say this? It's M-Trip. When I was opening it, I'm the youngest of 5, and I always defer to my older siblings. And I called my older sister and I said, I want to open a company and I want to name it after mommy. And my mother's name was Mary Tripotto. And I lost her when I was 5 years old. So I've always had this thing where I've sort of tried to live in her spirit to some extent, because I kind of want her to feel proud, And so we were playing around with the names. And she said, well, her nickname in town was Mary Trip. And I said, well, I don't want to call it that because they'll think I'm a girl company. And then they'll be biased. So always thinking of HR, So we said, hey, E.F. Hutton, J.P. Morgan, M-Trip. M-Trip, I love it, I love it, I love it. So we called my other sister and got her okay and her buy-in. And we all agreed M-Trip it would be. And so what I say, I am M-Trip. M-Trip is me. I am in everything I touch, from a paperclip to a phone call, a job fair, whatever. If you get me, you get the whole family. Spiritually speaking, they get us all. That's what these pictures on the walls are, really. But it's my passion, and now I get to do what I do best without a boss. I'm my own boss, and you know what? No boss could be harder on me than me. So I love this stuff. And I want to thank you for including me today. It's an honor, really.
Well, thank you for coming. I know that Mizar had a few questions about delegation, and delegation is our main topic for today's stream. So let's start with that and then go with the flow.
Okay. Well, my question, it's not even a question. It's my nightmare. It is.
Be up at night.
Well, it doesn't keep me up at night quite that bad, but it's just, okay. I don't have a business background. I was always working for somebody else in an arena where, while you are autonomous as a news anchor in front of the camera, you are the product, right? So that you're paid for that. Now we have a product. Great. But as I was saying before, with all of the plates spinning in the air, I sometimes need help, especially around tax time, because even though I majored in journalism, somehow all the banking and all the taxes and all the numbers, explicative deleted, fall to me. Because my husband, while he does have a business background and has a very good acumen for business, doesn't want to do it. But somebody's got to do it. So I do it. I slog through it, literally, government websites, whatever. And that was in the beginning. My issue now, there's a lot of groundwork that's already been established. Obviously, we've been in business for almost 20 years. A lot of groundwork that's been established. And now I really, really could use a personal assistant. Now, here's the thing. Joanne, you'll understand because you're a mom and you said you've got grandbabies too. Women do everything. No matter what, we are fixers. We manage to get it done, right? No matter what, we get it done. Where do you go ask mom. We get it done. So I've always done it myself, but I'm tired. I'm tired, and I'm a little. What's the word? I'm just worn out, right? Hiring a personal assistant is something that I've been trying to do for a while. My stumbling block here is how do I turn over all these, not all, let's just say slowly ramping up responsibilities such as paying the bills. Well, that means I have to open them up to our banking. Well, how about doing the taxes? Well, that means I have to open them up to our finances. And I guess it's an old-fashioned notion that I got from my dad. Keep that stuff close to the vest. Don't tell anybody.
Yes.
It's not even a trust issue. It's just the allowing someone. I had a financial advisor, good friend of mine. It would be allowing someone, it's a little indelicate, but I will say it anyway, to give you a financial prostate exam.
Yeah.
Because they're in there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You can use that, Joanne. You and HR, you just go ahead and use that.
There might be a T-shirt in there. Yeah.
I love that.
And there's the marketing guy.
There you go.
Okay, well, you heard it here first, okay?
Well, we got it on film. It's good.
That's my hurdle. It really is my hurdle. I don't want a personal assistant to say, hey, get me coffee. I mean, that's just so passe. That's so 1950s. I don't need that. And someone said to me, well, you can tell them to go pick up your dry cleaning. I said, who dry cleans anything anymore? Besides, I would never want to do that. I find all right, this may be the wrong word, but I find it's demeaning to ask someone to do these life things for me, where I really need them in the office to do stuff, right?
Yes.
So that's my big hurdle. It's my father echoing, keep it close to the vest. Don't tell anybody. Keep it close to the vest. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell them how much you make. Don't show you. That's just my dad's old-fashioned notion. But that's it. In a nutshell.
It's interesting. It's very interesting that you bring that up because there is that dichotomy of what it used to be and where you are. But I think one thread that, at least for me, since 1981 till this very moment, and all the things I learned, I was exactly that way, Mizar. I couldn't tell you how exactly that way I was. I was slightly different because I was less worried about the letting them in kind of thing and more worried about control. Okay.
Well, that's just it.
Right. It was more of a control issue than a trust. So, but as I started to talk to entrepreneurial friends of my parents who were very, very successful people, they were involved in government, they were involved in contracting, all kinds of things. And one of the things that always resonated for me, and I was very young, was said, Vic, you will never be able to scale if you think you can do everything. Okay. You will always be small. And you know what? That's okay if that's the goal. Right. But then the next question he asked me, his name was Hank Henderson. He said, the next question he says, do you want to be small? I said, no way. I want to be small.
No, I want to be the big fish in the big pond.
And you're going to have to understand how to delegate and to be able to let people do what it is that they're supposed to do. And this is the most ironic thing. And Deanna, you're gonna find this interesting. And I don't even know if Larry has the energy to watch this morning, but I was talking to Larry, my partner Larry in Playos agency, right before I got on this call. And he had, had some health issues, a little health scare and things that he's working through. But one of the things that was so enlightening for him and for me too, is that we have an amazing team, right? We have an amazing team in our business. And with him not having to do what he's always done, which is kind of micromanage and ride everybody and make sure everybody's supposed to do all that stuff, which is one of the things that makes him so amazingly, valuable in growing the business, is that he said, Vic, now that I couldn't do it, right, because I was dealing with this other thing, because I'm looking at what's happening with our team and saying, oh my God, I didn't really have to be doing this. Okay, because these people stepped up. They're doing what they need to do because we are fortunate enough to have spent the time and effort, Mizar, to find the right people. That's what the key is.
Well, yeah, and that's and I would say piggybacking on that, finding the right people, and also, like you said, letting go so that they can do their job.
And if you do that, they actually perform better than they might, right? If you were overseeing them all the time. And I know I've shared this on another stream, but I'm going to share it here because it's so incredibly pertinent. Okay. When I started my publishing business some billions of years ago, but when I started Northbound magazine, and you can see behind me, there's, the magazine covers and things. When I started that magazine, I have incredible partners, Tony Jones, Pamela Goldstein, and I, as the publisher, was obviously responsible for everything. That's what publishers are. They're responsible for everything. And all the time I produced that magazine, I never read it until it was printed.
Oh,
never. I never read it.
No copy editing, no photograph editing, no picture placement.
People are saying, now, how could an editor do that? Because the people I had working with me were better and smarter than me. So why in the world are they going to defer to me for something that they are masters at? Would I have asked them to go out and, sell the ads and do all the other things that I had to do and producers had to, a publisher had to do? Well, guess what? I'm real good at that. Okay. I know.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how to do those things the way they did. So we would have meetings. They would tell me what the overall thing was going to be. We'd set an editorial calendar and I'd be like, bye-bye. I got to go do my thing. It was enabled us to scale a business. Because if I was in those weeds, I wouldn't have been selling ads. I wouldn't have been talking at events. I wouldn't have been doing all the things that I needed to do in order to make rain. Right?
Bingo. Ding, ding, ding. Because I can't leave the office.
There you go.
Mean, now that COVID is over, I have a stack of people that I want to contact, knowing that, for instance, the New York Jets are clients, and they've been clients for years. Well, hell, why can't I get the New York Giants on board to drink this water that's great for the athletes because it hydrates and all these good properties the water has? Why can't I get 5 systems in Rutherford like I have in Florham Park? Why? Because I don't have the time to do it. I can't leave the office. Yep. And there's so many moving parts now that, we have 10 or 12 employees. Thankfully, I don't do that. I oversee the service managers because, but whatever. But I can't do that, Vic. Listen, you want a job? I'll hire you to do my sales for me.
But see, this is really what we're talking about, and it so cuts to the core, more so for entrepreneurs than it does for bigger companies. It actually is identical for bigger companies, but they've already figured it out. They have the matrix in place, so they can actually put the money and the resources behind. You know what I mean? I see Joanne on their head because that's a different thing. We as entrepreneurs, we have little businesses, we have limited budgets, we have limited time. We have to maximize that and look at, hey, what are the things that I'm going to do within my business that are going to continue to make money, and what can I delegate to?
Right. So that's the question for Joanne. Joanne, how do I do this? Yeah. How do I get into the right mindset to be able to, like they say in Frozen, let it go, because it's hard. it's really hard for me. I have some old tenets in my head that just keep resounding in there.
Well, it's you're not so old. Those are good pieces of advice that your dad gave. That's good piece of advice. But everything has to be weighed. It's a balancing act. Everything. All of life is a balancing act. Now, to a couple of points. So, Vic, you talked about the matrix that people have and the resources of the big companies, right? And they are better prepared. That's what I did. I was in charge of all the hiring. So I probably hired close to, and I'm not going to exaggerate, 25 to 30,000 people in my career.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
In my career. I won't tell you how long I'm doing it. Now, we did high volume.
Mostly kept secret. Yes.
Correct. Now, the thing is this, there's a risk. So that's why you're afraid. You're afraid because there's a risk. And as a small company, you have greater risk. The risk is much more immediate. It's much more, it can affect your private life, right? Some of us
because there's a lot of moving parts. Yes.
Correct. Yeah. We're in a big business. You have those layers. You have the risk cushion to protect them a little bit. You've got policies. If it's the wrong person, that you eventually can get rid of them. You're a one-man show. You're a two-man show. Something happens. It's much more immediate. So that's number one. The other thing, it's about trust. And you talked about that, Mizar. It's about trust because you're opening up to a lot. But let's assess that for just a sec. How much do you think people are going to find out that they can't really already find out? In this world of immediacy, technology, and all, we're probably not as protected from all of that as we think. Okay. Now, that's not to undermine, but that being said, you have to find the right person. So that's why many times solopreneurs will go to who? Who do they go to? Family, with the false notion that I can trust my brother-in-law, I can trust my cousin, I can trust my son. Well, maybe not. Okay, maybe not.
There's an expression in Italy. Even the mafia got Jewish lawyers.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, exactly.
Right?
I just want to make sure I can speak freely. I just want to make sure I can speak freely. So that being said,
please.
I think that there's pathways to find people. There's all of these people that are looking for that internship through your association. So number one, you're not just going outside and saying, hey, I need a personal assistant. Now watch the Devil Wears Prada and think at the end of the movie, not so much the beginning where she does get the coffee and the dry cleaning. But I am in the career development space, right? Every person I hired to work in housekeeping eventually had the potential to be something else, and many times did. So I'm going to look, and I'm in the process right now, that's why I can speak about it honestly, of looking for someone that can help me out in things that I don't know how to do. Now, in being here, they're going to be maybe in my house a little bit.
Right.
They're going to see some of my paperwork. Okay. They're going to maybe open up a database. But that's also part of their learning because I'm not just hiring them, I'm mentoring them. So if you can approach it with, I belong to a chamber of commerce, or I belong to a women's network, or I belong to something. And within that, are there any rising stars coming up that I can offer a summer internship, something unpaid, paid, something. Work within those factions. You may find somebody that can help you 1 day a week, 2 days a week, maybe some remote, maybe do your calendar. See, things of that are sort of low risk. And then you'll learn to build trust and you'll say, oh, Deanna, she's so bright. Oh my God, I can trust her. She works for me a little with this, a little with that. The truth has a ring to it. Before you know it, I start doling out greater responsibilities. Before you know it, she's working with me. And I say, oh my God, I could never do this without her. Thank God I have her working for me. It takes that. You don't have to feel you have to open the entire family volume, to them. You don't. In small steps as you trust, but you mentor and you lead them and you guide them. You are going to have to teach them how you want it done your way. Because remember, the person who picks up that phone or makes that visit for you, let's say you can't be everywhere. You're either in the office doing this or you're on a field visit. You have to trust me that I can do the field visit in your absence. So you go with me once or twice, and then you watch me, and then you let me go. What's the worst that's going to happen? Nothing. Nothing. You're
Nothing.
worried about what you're hearing from your dad or whomever. You may say, you know what, Dad?
Oh,
Sometimes you gotta keep people. Sometimes you just gotta trust. I was raised in a household, and I'll end it here. I was raised in a household where you don't talk about things. You keep everything inside. Don't air your dirty laundry. That was the line, right? Don't air your dirty laundry. And so I kept a lot to myself, until I went to work in a big environment, in a big hospital, and the people would be talking about that, and I would hear them talking about their little problems. Somebody had an argument with their husband that morning. Somebody's kid mouthed off on the way to school, and they left the car in a huff. Somebody, the dog did something to the neighbor. And you know what? Out of that, I realized I didn't have to say it, was sharing. And once I heard their stories, I didn't feel my story was that bad or that unique. So sometimes sharing something, airing something isn't such a bad thing. It also brings with it validation, recognition, reassurance. I hope that helps a little bit.
it does. It helps a lot. It's just obviously this is my cross to bear that uh, I have to get over that hump. And then the other way I justify it as well with all the banking, and it's the business, and there's like another side hustle that we talked about that before going live.
Right.
We have several rental properties, and so it's managing that too. That I'm not so worried about. And actually, when I think about it, Joanne, these days, yes, nothing is perfectly safe. None of the finances are perfectly safe. None of that. There's always a way to track. I think embezzling is much harder now, and I don't think that's ever but that's just as an example. Mm-hmm. Here's the other thing. You open somebody up, and yes, you've got to trust them, but I've got to go a long way to trust them before I can trust them not to say to the employees, "Oh, you don't know what their bottom income. Ooh, this is the kind of money they're making. Ooh, that kind of a thing." And I don't want that disclosed. We take extremely good care of our employees. Extremely good care. We go to Europe because we have obligations there. We come back, and Antonio will just peel off more than a couple he'll just give them a little bonus money for holding down the fort when we're gone. We are very good to our employees. I just need that one employee.
Let me ask you something, Mizar. How many employees do you have?
We have a couple of freelancers on 1099s, and we have 10.
Okay, so that's a nice size group.
Yeah,
it's intimate enough, and yet it's big enough, for people to talk. I worked we had, I don't know, 5,000 employees. I mean, I saw salaries every day. I saw when you're in this business, if you find somebody who's in the business of financial assistant or compensation, it's numbers to them. It's nothing. The minute I turn the page, I don't remember what you make. I'm looking at another salary. It's not as clandestine as to people outside of that world. So if you're going to look for a PA, personal assistant, or a business assistant, maybe you pull from either someone who's worked as a legal secretary or a financial assistant. This is like mother's milk to them. It's not the big deal you feel it is. Now, of course, because it's your business, you're protecting. But there's also things like policies and non-disclosure. Think back to the sign that, God forbid, somebody's got a leak, they're out, and there's repercussions for that. But I know tons of people. What about all the office managers that run big doctors' practices? And this is a world of people that they know how to do this stuff. There are good people out there, and if none of them currently work for you now, maybe through this situation, I'll help you find somebody. I do hiring. I hire people who are out of work or whatever, and I might be able to help you at least in the screening. And come up with a couple of key questions. And the things, what did you do before? Who did you work for before? Talk to me about managing confidential information. What kind of confidential information did you manage? And that includes people who are personal assistants that I've interviewed for celebrities who know they have everything there. They know their x-ray results. They know their not only their bank accounts, they know their COVID test results. I mean, it's unbelievable what these people trust people with. I don't trust my own family with some of this stuff.
Well, that's just it, isn't it, Joanne? That's just it.
Exactly. But I have people who I've hired to work with me that I've honed for years that, believe it or not, I have given my credit card to. I have given them my PIN number for my bank account because I need something before a meeting, and I would put in my will.
Mhm.
And that's trust to the ultimate. They are out
Yes,
there.
no,
You have to find them.
the credit card is easy though because it's trackable, right?
Yes,
Every
yes.
one of our employees has a credit card. Why? Because our technicians in the field, oh snap, I need a widget. Well, they can go to a supply company or or a box store or whatever, and they can find it and they don't have to pull out their own cash. So yes,
Yes.
that stuff is all trackable because that's it. They use it for work and nothing else. So that to me is easy. It's just disclosing the nitty gritty.
Of
Mhm.
course. And is there also a way, Mizar, that they can be that can be isolated? Maybe they can pick up all the other kinds of lifting, the daily. Don't feel that it's menial work. It's not menial work. It's they're getting paid. Number two, they know what it's about when you interview them. And three, it's a pathway to something beyond. And maybe someday they're going to be the Mizar opening their own business, and they're going to learn from the ground up how it's done. So don't ever apologize that somebody has to do something that's not, the wow factor. That's how we all learn. And keep what you need to yourself and give them the other stuff. A young person coming up would jump at an opportunity. You're absolutely stunning. It looks like you have a great company. The mission sounds fantastic. Why wouldn't you want to do something? And the exposure and to get to work with you every day and learn from you. Boy, that's a capstone project in itself. So really, I think you're underselling the importance and the benefit of a job like that.
Okay, you're probably right, but
I
you're
know.
right. I know you're right. I know you're right. I know you're right.
That's why
I know
I'm
you're
good
right.
at what I do. I know.
I know.
Joanne, and the one thing that's funny about that, or interesting about that, obviously being a long-term entrepreneur myself, is that I understand exactly what Mizar is grappling with, because it's not a light switch, it's a dimmer switch.
Right. Great analogy.
That's a great
I
analogy.
love that.
Gradual.
Yes.
In order for you to get there, she's not going to jump off this call and say, "Wow, that was so freaking good. Let me start hiring people." No, not going to happen. Okay, just not going to happen. But this may be the catalyst to take that first step and say, you know what? There was some interesting stuff that was discussed on this call. Let me take this in an incremental step thing where
Not some, a lot.
right?
Sorry for interrupting. Yeah.
Yeah, where you can feel comfortable and you can feel like, you know what, I can indoctrinate someone. I do want to mentor someone. I do want to teach them, but I also want to teach them where it's not only going to be beneficial to them, it's going to be beneficial to me. And that's a mindset. And believe me, like I said, I started my business in 1981. I was very different then than I am now. Very,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You're a lot cooler now.
Well,
a little more gray.
You and me both, brother. You and me both.
Oh, that's so funny.
well, I have some gray hair too. Vic, what is your tip or what is your advice for hiring people? Like, how do you do that? Because you said that you work with the right people, but how do you find them?
I find them by making an inordinate amount of mistakes. Okay, how about that? I definitely have to kiss a lot of frogs before I find the prince or the princess. But how I go about it, because Deanna and also Mizar, Joanne, not quite yet, but you two kind of know me. For me, first and foremost, it's personality. Okay, that's one. And I'm not saying I will get together with that person on a personal level. Hey, let's go grab a lunch, right? And instead of saying, why don't you come to my office and sit down and show me your resume and blah, 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 and do it the old-fashioned way? No, not interested in that, because you know what? I don't really care what your resume says. If you're not a serial killer, I really don't care what your resume says. Okay, I'm interested in what you think you're going to bring to my unique situation. And guess what? My situation might not be unique, but it's unique to me. Okay. So I perceive it as being unique. So therefore, you have to treat it as unique as well.
It is.
If you're going to be part of this family. And then I sit down and have that conversation and say, hey, why do you want to be a part of this? And we get to talk and I find out who they are. I find out where they came from. I find out some trials and tribulations. I'm also open with them too. I don't just make it a one-sided thing where they can't feel open that I'm not going to give them anything. They're just giving me. Because that's not fair on an interpersonal relationship. And it's certainly not fair for somebody I want working with me, long term, if I'm going to put the time and effort. Because there's the other thing too, Mizar, that I know is in the back of your mind is like, yeah, I'm going to invest all this time and find out that this person's the wrong person somewhere down the line. And that's a cost, right? That's a cost.
Yeah. And it's an emotional cost for me too, because I put everything into it.
Yeah, it's a big cost. So Deanna, just to kind of, put a point on that, is that's really the first and foremost. If you, and I learned this from Tony and Pam, so I cannot take credit for what I'm about to say. If you don't fit the culture of the business, okay? If you don't fit the culture, respect, thoughtfulness, all of the other things. I mean, some of them are buzzwords and some of them are very, 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 very important. But if you don't fit that overall culture, if you're an aggressive person and how you solve problems is, hyper and all, that's not going to work. Okay. Right. It's not going to work internally and it's not going to work externally, because that's not how I want my customers to perceive my good or service is being delivered by somebody who's a nutcase. Okay. Who doesn't have control over their emotions and what they're going to do and what they're going to say and how they're going to present themselves. That's a non-starter. I can teach you a lot of things you don't know, but I can't teach you that.
Correct. Yeah, our technicians are, I don't want to say vetted. I mean, we hire them together, Antonio and I, but there are certain parameters. They go into clients' houses. The clients are very high end. We go all the way out to the Hamptons. I mean, these are $4, $5, $6 million homes. They are, it's a funny story. One time, one of our employees came in with a t-shirt, because they're not allowed to wear t-shirts with anything, nothing. I mean, they should either wear a plain shirt or I give them their swag and all that stuff, because that way they're identified and stuff like that. Right? Yeah. But one time, one guy came into the office. I said, "Good morning, Michael." And I looked at him and I said, "What are you wearing?" And it had a t-shirt. And clearly it was okay, excuse me for saying it, but it said boats and hose. I said, "You are not going out into the field with that. What are you doing? What is your problem?" He goes, "No, I'm working in the office today. I'm doing inventory." Because that's the culture. You really, that's the message. You just don't you smoke, don't put on your, whatever. I understand that. Let me, Joanne, maybe I made a mistake, but here's something that happened. I advertised in Morris County Moms, because I figured, maybe there's some moms that want to do 2 days a week. Kids are in school. They can come 9 to 3, 9 to 12. I'm very loosey-goosey as long as the work gets done, right? And I hired someone who has her own little business, and she does that on the side, on the weekends, whatever. And she had a daughter, and I said, okay. She's very qualified, very well-spoken, knew a lot already, okay, because she ran her own little business, right? So I said, fine, we're going away, and we'll be back, and we're going to start April 1st. Okay. So I emailed her from overseas, and I said, listen, we're going to be 3 days late. We'll just start on the 4th or the 5th, whatever. So I hope to see you in the office then, whatever. We had some, when you do, vacation is one thing, but when you have business overseas, it's different. Things happen, right?
Yes.
So I was 3 days late, but I advised her. So I get back to the office, and I have an email from her. Well, our vacation got extended, and we're going to be away from here. She didn't tell me this before. Actually, told me before. She goes, I'll be able to start work May 1st. And I went, do I really want to bring somebody in who's already trying to call the shots? Oh. And I told her, I'm sorry, but you knew we were starting this day. She was very well qualified. She said, you knew this.
Yes.
I apologize because unfortunately, so I didn't hire her. Did I make a mistake? I don't think so.
In my estimation, you dodged a bullet.
Thank you.
Right.
Dodged a bullet. And
Thank you.
I'll be honest with you. This happens more and more. Back in the day, people were more um, mindful to and let you know that maybe there was a vacation coming up. Let's face it, you're interviewing people on a timeline that doesn't stop, right? They're having their lives. They're planning for weddings. They're going to play all of us, right?
Life.
Right.
That's how
Right.
it is. Life. It's part
So
of the big puzzle.
that's right. Now, I'm really bad. I actually got a job, unexpected, big promotion, all this, and canceled my vacation. Never spoke about it because I was so grateful to get the job. I canceled my vacation, and my boyfriend went by himself to Aruba without me.
Oh, and you let him go with all
I
those
drove
beautiful
him
women
to
down
the
there.
airport that morning, and I said I want to go, but I didn't want to blow the opera. I wanted to be the one. Thanks be to God, I did get picked, and I was there 16 years and got promoted. But the point is that that kind of commitment to the employer is very rare anymore.
Well, I
Okay,
think it's a sense of, I don't want to say entitlement, but I find that with the younger people, and I am painting with a broad brush,
well,
please, please, but there is an entitlement
there is,
and
but
a work ethic that's lacking
well,
sometimes.
it's a different. Well, so let's put it this way: I see it's a different work ethic right now. To their side,
Yeah.
you guys aren't equally committed to them. So they don't want to put all their eggs in your basket because today, tomorrow, you got to cut. Bye bye. We loved you. You're such a sweetheart, but we got to let you go. So they have this fear of that. So they're all about themselves, self preservation, which
Okay.
isn't a bad thing. Maybe if the baby boomers learned a little bit more of that, and maybe we can find a happy medium. So I know going in, I'm not going to find the person like me, but I find it more and more that they'll tell you after you've made the offer. Oh, they get all excited, they cry, they're happy. Papa, you're the best. Thank you. Oh, by the way, I'm going to Brazil for 2 weeks, the first 2 weeks of August. Oh, well, now I'm thinking, well, what do I do with that? So I have to say, oh, really? Okay. Well, now that's okay if you're in maybe an office setting or something. What if you're the charge nurse of the ICU
Yeah, right.
at night? Who
Right.
do
Yeah.
I find to take your place for those patients? So you see, it depends on the industry and what I said earlier. What's the risk to you? So under the way we function now, you don't fire them. If at 2 weeks in, you may have to say, listen, I can't approve it. That's all well and good, but I can't approve the time off. You have a decision to make. Or we can split the difference. I can give you the first week, can't give you the second week. But in your case, absolutely. That was manipulative as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, good. I'm so glad because I thought, maybe I lost a gem.
And
And I thought,
No,
I-
but
I don't want to be walked all over.
you
Not at
didn't,
all.
you didn't
Not
lose the gem, no matter how shiny or how buffed that gem was.
Yeah.
There was a clear from Jump Street
Yes.
that there was a lack of commitment.
Yeah, there was a lack of commitment, and also
That's
there was
true.
a lack of respect to you. So not okay, not okay. All right.
Good.
Now,
Good. Because I pained over it a lot. But,
and I want to get back to your earlier point because I'm hearing you, and really, Mizar, I think you're a lot more on point with your decision making in your staffing, and then you may give yourself credit. You've got these 10 plus people plus your freelancers, right? And they're and you just said they're going into homes. You have to put them in high risk situations or medium risk. And you know what? You've done a fabulous job thus far.
well, thanks. Well,
Who's
thanks.
are people calling you up and complaining about these wacky, strange people? You are trusting them with your brand. So
Oh, yes. The one guy that we didn't trust that did give us trouble was out the door.
okay, but there's no crystal ball. Vic, you could do as much digging and you're doing all your hiring right. You're interviewing them in the right way. But still, every once in a while, something might fall. But that's no assessment of your skills or lack of savviness. It's life, it's people.
Right. It is
Listen, you
people.
meet people. You meet people, you learn about them, you trust them, you marry them. 3 years later, you're hugely disappointed. Did you know, were you fooled? No, it's like conversely, you meet somebody, you don't like them, you meet them again, you're like, this person's wacky. 2 years later, you're married to them.
Is that what happened?
Sometimes that's life. You have to take the risk. Use your instincts. It's guided you thus far.
Yeah.
Use some really tangible EQ, IQ. You didn't get this way by being an idiot or by being silly. Know what you're doing. Trust yourself. I think you're wonderful. A wonderful compliment. And you're great. Really. No, honest. I think you're really all on point.
Well, thank you. I do feel silly sometimes, but I like being silly.
That's important to stay silly.
That's part of the fun.
Because you can't take yourself too seriously either. You got to have a little fun. You do.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
just your
for
business.
sure.
Have a good time.
Yeah.
You're not working for the FBI. You're working. This is what you want to do. So enjoy it.
No,
You make the rules.
I do.
We
You're
have
right.
a comment. We have a comment from Emily Frankel, and she's thanking you guys for transparency. And I want
welcome.
to thank Emily for commenting. Also, everyone who is watching us, you are free to ask questions for your own business. Everything that's, you can tell your story, share your story, everything that's related to your delegation and stuff. We'll be happy to help you out or hear your story.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome, Emily, and thank you.
Thank you, Emily, and everyone.
There was one thing during that conversation that kind of stuck with me too, and it's also the ability to listen to the people that are coming in to talk to you, but also they will basically disclose to you their viability and their willingness and their character. And also they too will make mistakes. And I think I may have said this on another stream, but when I had my offices over in Florham Park, a gentleman walks in my office and got a message. Oh, there's somebody here to see you. I think he was from one of the like Comcast or somewhere like that, information thing. And no appointment or anything. He's just walking to my office. Now, I have a soft spot for salespeople, obviously. I'm a sales guy to the core. So I'm like, okay, this guy's got enough nerve to walk into my office and ask for me. So I said, could you hold my calls? This is when we had somebody actually at the front desk. I said, would you hold my calls and send them in? He heard me say this. He comes in, he sits at my desk. He sits in front of my desk and he starts to proceed to introduce himself and then tell me what it is that he was there to try to sell me. His phone rings and he answers it and starts having a conversation. Okay. Now, this is a guy who's trying to sell me. So I let him. I was very calm and I was just, I listened and I just sat there and then he hung up the phone. He said, I am so terribly sorry. And I said, I can't remember his name. It was Mark or something like that. I said, sit there in the seat for a couple minutes longer because you're going to be leaving soon. But let me explain something to you. Okay. This is going to be one of the best lessons you're ever going to have. You heard, and I took him through it. I said, you heard me say, hold my calls. I have somebody coming. You didn't have an appointment and I don't even know you. But I was willing to give you my undivided attention for you to try to sell me something I probably don't even want. Okay. But I was willing to give you the time and effort to do that. And the first thing you did was you picked up your phone. That tells me everything I need to know about you. Right. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Do not, if you
Good
think
lesson.
you're going to be successful in this business or any other business, behave like that because you will be tossed out like you are about to be right now. And but it was just amazing to me. And when he left, I leaned back in my chair and I'm like, oh my God, what is going on?
You know what, Vic? So I have, when my staff would come in to tell me things like this, and stuff like this happens a lot, I would say to them, oh, so-and-so did such and such. Guess what I call that? A gift. That was a gift to you.
Sure.
Because you again dodged that bullet. So for the little bit of frustration, it's more a good for anecdotal storytelling. Keep that little story bag, right? But and you were very kind because he was lucky that you actually had the time. I personally wouldn't. I would have kind of shortcut my time and he would have not known why he didn't get the job or get called. But he knew with you were kind enough to tell him that.
Yeah, I felt somewhat obligated because there is this mentoring bone in my body.
Yes,
Mhm.
I can see
And
that.
only because I've had so many people in my life who are magnificent people who have mentored me through almost every step of the way.
Yeah.
And not necessarily intentionally. Some of them were just mentoring me and I didn't even know it. Others were doing it on purpose. But I learned so many things from those mentors, and I'm like, they've prevented me from making so many massive mistakes
Right.
because I was able to listen to people, not just what they told me, but knowing that I had the respect enough to listen.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's key.
Some
That's key.
people will tell you things and you're like, yeah, whatever.
Oh no, I learned that even coming up in broadcast journalism. You might have a great many terrific questions prepared for your guest, but if you don't listen and you don't follow up with the right follow up or with the right next question, if you don't listen, it's one-sided and
Yeah.
it doesn't get you anywhere. All you want to do is listen to yourself.
Right.
It's true.
Oh, I love that.
That's a great piece of information, Mizar.
Yeah.
Well, thanks.
Well,
That's just coming up in the business.
yeah, Mizar, we used to say if the interviewer, if the candidate isn't talking, then the interviewer is talking too much. Okay, because you're both there. Listen, window shopping, right? You looking for the right person, as you spoke very emotionally about it, to protect your company, to take care of your company, respect your company, and you're bringing them in. So you have a very big interest in getting the right person. Well,
Mhm.
the other side, so do they. Remember being a job applicant and the feeling of it's you against this big, vast world, and you're going through the motion, you're dressing up, you're practicing your handshake or your Zoom persona, or getting the right answers, looking into, after you do this 10, 20 times, it gets wearing, right? You get worn out, and you get interview fatigue, and you start to wonder if you're really valued, and you wonder all of those cover letters that they absolutely required me to send, did anybody really read them? And I'm waiting, and they told me you'll hear in a week, and it's 3 weeks and I haven't heard. Does anybody even care about me? Or I have another offer, or maybe I'm thinking about starting to take a course. I don't want to take it if they want me, but I don't want to miss so we all are on these moving targets, and it's 50-50. It's so hard to be a candidate today, because nobody can, like you had that fella, Vic, that walked in. Nobody does that. Everything's electronic. Everything's digital. You've lost the ability to pop into Kmart's shipping and receiving department and, hey, say, Mac, you hiring any truck drivers? You can't do that anymore.
No, you can't. You can't.
So it's so hard. So I have a blog called Empathy, and it's about both sides, how it is on both sides, both for that overwhelmed employer seeking the right fit and the risks around that, and the fatigue around that too, when you're deluged. Because remember, back in the day, you had to put a stamp on something or maybe fax something. Now, boom, you hit a button, it automatically goes. Okay. So it's so easy to apply. And it's so easy to, on the other side, disregard people. So it's this balance. I talked about it right in the beginning: balancing.
It's so true. And technology, you brought up the technology piece because, now, like with AI and things like that, like you were talking about cover letters and resumes and things of that nature. When somebody sends me something, in the old days, before this AI and assistance with writing things and all that, I would only read the first portions of that cover letter because I wanted to see if you could string together a complete sentence. I wanted to see, if you had that acumen. I can't tell that anymore.
Correct.
Okay? So that's gone because I know you used AI to write it, and I know and I know it's most likely going to be grammatically correct, right?
True.
Things are different. It's changed.
Mizar, you're muted.
Yeah, I think your microphone's off. Your microphone's off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there you are.
What about this AI business?
Oh my
I
goodness.
did. About how you can put this text into an AI thing and it'll just zhuzh it up for you. And I'm proud to say that because of my writing background, I barely get any criticism from that little bot.
Yes.
But I hesitate to do it. And I don't feel like I need to do it. I don't. But you're right, Nick. Now, a person can be very well spoken on paper. And, when you meet them, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, you're like, whoa, who wrote this for you? Your next door neighbor? I mean,
So I have a talking point about that, and this is, I've been criticized, and it's a welcome criticism. I welcome it, but also I have an answer. So in this world of AI, people like me who write resumes and write cover letters and things of that nature, you charge a fee, and I've been told, oh, why should I pay you? I could just go, I could Google this, and I could use AI, and I could create. I say, listen, please do. Please feel free. The world is open to all of us. Now, if you come to me, it's the difference of you're going to Kmart, Walmart, wherever you go to do your shopping, and I shop there. And you can get a nice shirt and a sport jacket and go to an event and look fine, right? You look great. Long as you're clean and you got a good haircut and you had a good night's sleep the night before, you're going to be fine. But if you want a custom made suit, you're going to come to me because I'm going to tailor that to you. And how? Exactly to what you're saying. I meet with you. I sit with you. I take you to lunch or breakfast. I talk to you, not in an office, about life, about you. I get a sense of your vocabulary, who you are, what's your energy like. And then I start to create a document that, yes, it's a document, but it's your story on paper. It resonates with your history and how you speak. So when you send that in, and now somebody picks up the phone and you do what we're doing or talks to you on the phone, it sounds like you. It uses your words. And I say when the draft is, does this sound like you? I have to capture your voice. And you know this, Mizar, if you've written for people. You have to capture their voice. You're not going to use words that they don't even know how to spell. That's ridiculous.
right.
You can't, you have to write for their voice. So, and likewise in the presentation of the document, you're not going to take a 6'5" guy who was a Capitol police officer and give him a 0.9 Arial font on his resume. Like, that's ridiculous.
Right.
It just it looks ridiculous.
And people who are in journalism, that's why that's so funny.
I know they love Ariel. I know they love Ariel because it translates well. But, and again, you're not going to zhuzh it up, but it has to look like the person. And I'll say, do you feel this is yours? Can you shop with this resume and this letter? Does it have your verbiage? Is there that little joke or that little bit of humor in the letter? Or is it extremely formal? You have to know. So that's it. So do I use AI? I use it as my editor.
Okay.
I write, then I look at it and I say, no, that doesn't capture the spirit of what I'm trying to say. I think I've said it better, but I like their word. I'm going to take that word.
So, yeah, you're
we
using
all need that.
as a tool, a fork at the
Yes, of course. And that's what I said before. It's about balance. Am I going to say, here, let me do Mizar's resume. Here's her stats. Write me a resume. No, because you know what, Mizar? It's going to look like Victor's resume and Deanna's resume. And I'm not about being a cookie cutter.
Right.
You're paying me to help you stand out.
Right.
And I'm going to use
sense.
all the tools in my toolkit to help you do that.
I hope a lot of people get to see this stream, okay? And it's rerun and everything, because that is also extremely valuable.
Very valuable. Very valuable. I just wrote a letter for someone, and knowing that the dynamics were a little odd, but I don't use AI, but I still go to the synonyms on my word.
Yes.
I can craft it and
Yes.
not sound stupid, because sometimes a word escapes me, but that's just that to me is a very helpful tool. I may try AI a little more often because it's fun for no other, but the
Right.
synonym producer is great. I mean, but then
Yes.
again, I am kind of an old-fashioned girl. I kind of well, not that word is old fashioned, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I love words, and I love the power of words, and it's so important to get it right. You can make or break a house or a partnership or a business with the wrong word. So the value in having not a lot of words, but the right words is just so very important. And then to extend that beyond in your verbal communication, which goes back to what Vic said earlier about finding the personality. It's EQ. Yes, you need to be intelligent and know your industry and understand, because you have to be a subject matter expert if someone's going to hire you.
Sure.
However, you also have to read a room. You have to get a sense of people, and that's
So
what
true.
journalists do better than anybody, I think.
Well, I think
That's
we're
sales
down to our last minute, aren't we?
Yeah, salespeople.
Yeah, we are finishing. I just want to hear you guys talk for hours.
Right.
It's so enlightening. I love it.
We have to schedule this for 3 hours.
Yeah, listen, once we get into cocktail hour, it's over.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we have to get together. We have to get together. I'll drive to meet you guys.
We're going to get together, Joanne, because that's the other piece of what we're trying to do is create.
Good, I'm in.
Creating
It'll get me out of the office, dadgummit.
So, Dee, did you want to say something before we?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to ask Mizar and everybody on this call to say maybe like 2 or 3 insights that you're going to take from this call.
Oh, letting go. That's my big one. Letting go and knowing that that I'm not on a light switch, but on a dimmer. And that kind of wraps it all up for me. But I mean, there's many other insights, but just the ramping up rather than the diving off.
Okay. Well, I love it. I love it. Thank you, everyone. I think we can do another one, with another topic, another call.
That'd be fun.
I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, me too. So as Vic said, we would love to create a community, and we are doing this for people to learn something, because I feel like Victor and Joanne gave a lot of tools that not just Mizar, other people can use for building their business, for building, for hiring people, for finding the right people. And I would love everyone who has other questions, business related, reach out to us, and we can schedule more streams that will be insightful for entrepreneurs, solo entrepreneurs, small business owners, to help you guys grow and thrive.
Perfect.
Yeah, well, let's finish up. I guess we're out of time. And thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you, everyone, for watching.
Yes, we're going to put this together as far as a meeting, Joanne, for sure. So, I'll work with Dion and we'll coordinate that.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
Well, you're welcome, and thank you all very much.
Thanks so much. This was great.
Thank you all, everybody. Have a beautiful day. Namaste.
Yeah. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.
Be safe.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.